I'm Betsy Green, Executive Director of the Georgia Youth Science and Technology Centers. I am so happy to introduce you to our organization and the wonderful work we do. For 31 years, GYSTC has been the leading nonprofit advocate in Georgia for excellence in science, technology, engineering, and math education at the elementary level. We advocate for our hardworking Georgia teachers with ongoing professional development training so they can maintain the highest skill levels to prepare our children for success. We advocate continuously for quality science education for Georgia children and their families with year-round activities for kindergarten through 8th grade students. Our reach is statewide with special focus on those children and communities who are underserved and need us most. We are enthusiastic and we are creative. GYSTC programs are available so entire communities can come together around science-based exploration, education, and fun. Today, I'd like to share one such program we are most proud of, Georgia Discover Camp. As you will see, it's a learning camp with a science twist. Any Georgia student can participate and every Georgia student will enjoy what we have in store. Please take a look.
Good morning. My name is Cathy Fontenot. I am Regional Coordinator of the West Georgia Youth Science and Technology Center. We are so glad that you have joined us again for day 2 of the Discover Georgia STEM Camp. What did you think about the honeybees yesterday? I loved building my pollinator, my honeybee, and I loved seeing your honeybees that you posted on the GYSTC Facebook page. Today's another exciting day. Today we're going to take a virtual field trip to Briscoe Field to where we are going to hang out at the Civil Air Patrol hangar with our friend Captain Jack. And he's going to teach us some things about rockets that we may not have known before. We're also going to hear an astronaut. Astronaut Kate Rubins is going to read us a story from the International Space Station when she was there. She's going to read to us Rosie, Revere, engineer. And finally, we're going to build our own flying machines. Okay, but before we get started with all of that, we need to do a brain break. We need to get our body moving. We've got to get our blood flowing. So we're going to do a brain break with some rockets. So I need you to stand up out of your chair. And I need you to stand straight and tall like a pencil, arms by your side. And when I say rocket ship, we're going to make our body form into a rocket. So we're going to jump out with our legs to the side. And these are going to be the fins of our rocket. We're going to throw our arms up, and we're going to make our nose cone of our rocket. Okay, so this is the rocket ship pose. All right, now jump back to pencil, jump back to rocket ship, pencil, rocket ship, pencil, rocket ship, pencil, rocket ship. All right, good job. Now you've got your body moving. Go on ahead and have a seat and relax. And let's listen as Astronaut Kate reads to us Rosie, Revere, engineer, and Captain Jack shares with us about rockets. Hello. My name is Miss Cathy. I am a regional coordinator of the Georgia Youth Science and Technology Center. And today we are going to build some flying machines. We are on location at Briscoe Field in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And we are at the Civil Air Patrol hangar. I want to introduce you to my friend, Captain Jack. Captain Jack has been a member of the Civil Air Patrol for over 7 years. He is a member of the search and rescue team. He is an airborne photographer, an aerospace educator, He, in the past, has been a middle school and high school teacher. He's been in sales management. Tell us more about Civil Air Patrol. It sounds very interesting.
Civil Air Patrol started about 75 years ago, just before World War II. And we have 3 missions. Search and rescue, as Ms. Cathy mentioned, is very important. We saved over 70 lives last year. How do we do that? We use our airplanes to find downed pilots, small aircraft, people lost in the woods. There was one family out in Nevada that had gone into the desert and had a problem with their SUV, and they camped out for about 3 days. We found them and brought them back to safety. So this is a very, very important part of Civil Air Patrol. Aerospace education, we love to have you involved in the aerospace careers that are available, and we'll mention that a little bit later, and we'll itemize some of those. It's a very exciting world. We also have a cadet program for students who are ages 12 through 18. If they want to live the aerospace life, do a number of different things, and we'll introduce you to some of those activities today.
Thank you, Captain Jack. So today, Captain Jack's going to help us look at some content dealing with force and motion with rockets and airplanes. He is also going to share with us some exciting careers in aviation. Before we get to today's activity, let's listen to a story called Rosie, Revere, Engineer, read by astronaut Kate Rubins. And this story is about Rosie that builds a flying machine.
Welcome to Storytime from Space, a project of the Global Space Education Foundation. To learn how you can support this exciting project, please visit storytimefromspace.com.
Hello, and welcome to the International Space Station. I'm astronaut Kate Rubins, and today we're going to read a book about Rosie, Revere, Engineer, by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, I truly do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie of the tale of things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams. That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight. And this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn. She gave her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop that it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and I will never be a great engineer." She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, and perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Don't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed. That is true. But first, it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew." Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy, get on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. Thanks for joining us today on the International Space Station. We have a lot of engineers working for us, and someday I hope we have Rosie Revere working for us too.
techniques, what makes rockets fly compared to the airplanes. I'm sure you have done this one, but before we do, I want to explain to you one thing that's really important, our safety concerns. Now, there are 3 rules that I would like you to follow when you're doing these types of things. First of all, always know where your rocket's going to fly. Secondly, don't point it at anyone, whatever you do. You could cause injury that way. And thirdly, one of the most important parts is use a countdown method so that everybody around you knows exactly what's happening. The rocket is one of the easiest and most simple to build. You can't go wrong with that, and I'm sure many of you have built one of these, a straw rocket. That's one very, very good example. I built one that's a little bit more fun, but before we do, let's explain the different components of a rocket. You've got a nose cone, you've got the body of the rocket, that's called the fuselage, and you've got these things. They're called flaps. They control the stability of the rocket. And I built this one that was a little bit larger component, and it flies a little bit better, a little further. So the propulsion was done and the thrust was completed by a breath of air, similar to your balloon rocket that you're going to be building. There's another type of rocket that we have a lot of fun with. It's called the Alka-Seltzer rocket. We use a film canister and we use Alka-Seltzer mixed with water. When they mix, they create a gas called carbon dioxide. So, with carbon dioxide as our propellant and our fuels are water and Alka-Seltzer, we're going to launch this one just to see how it goes. We'll put water, about half full. We'll drop in maybe a half a tablet of Alka-Seltzer. And it's setting in motion. Gas is being completed. And there you have propulsion created by carbon dioxide. The other type of rocket that we have a lot of fun with, and I've flown a lot of these, looks a little like this, and some of you may see this as quite similar to what you've done before. This uses an engine that's in a tube like this. This engine is basically a lot of gunpowder. Most of you know it, that it's sealed like this, and it's the same thing that goes in fireworks. Gunpowder was invented back 1,000 years ago by the Chinese, of course, to make fireworks. It was all fun and games. So we insert that in the back of the rocket, we launch it. That size rocket takes that size engine. This size rocket takes this size engine, and they're launched with electrical controls. And this size rocket takes this type of a tube, which is a refillable canister. Now, obviously, being at the airport like this, safety is our biggest concern. We cannot launch rockets. We'd be interfering with flight landings and takeoffs, so we have to be real conservative with what we do. These rockets, once they take off, a parachute pops out and brings it safely to the ground. And they're supposed to be packed very, very light so that they come out fairly easily. Now, this particular rocket is a 2-stage. Once it's launched, the first stage pops out, the second stage blows out the parachute. Very exciting, a lot of fun, traveling up to about 200 feet. So, with weight, would you use this particular type of engine to launch that particular rocket? Well, of course not. So you have to have the weight and the engine and the thrust adjusted for that. What about resistance in the air, which is called lift? You see it, our nose cones are very lightly shaped, a little bit like a bullet, and the fins, by the way, they're not wings, they're called what? Fins, are shaped downward to avoid having a lot of resistance as they are propelled into space. You may be asking what kinds of jobs are available in the aerospace industry that have to do with rocketry. Again, there are designers, there are engineers, there are weather people, there are mechanics, there are assemblers, launch control technicians, and one of the most important, which is called safety inspectors. Oh, and I left out one more important one, and you heard from that person today, astronauts. If you want to study to do these types of things, I would suggest you do a couple of basic things. Number one, study your math and your sciences. Very, very important. Get online, watch NASA TV, watch launches. Go online, find out when satellites can be viewed in the night sky. I have watched the Starlink satellites travel across the sky at 17,000 miles an hour. I've seen the International Space Station. So those are the things you really should be doing to get involved in the aerospace industry. It's an exciting field. Moms and dads that are watching this, it pays very well. I think you'll be excited and your kids will have a great time at it and they'll have a wonderful career. Thanks for watching.
Right, so now it is time for you to build your own flying machine. Let's think about everything that Captain Jack has told us about and taught us about force and motion. And let's pull our materials together for our Rosie Revere's flying machine. You're going to need some sort of string. You can use yarn, you can use fishing line. You're also going to need a straw. You're going to need some tape. Okay, and you're going to need a balloon to build your flying machine. Now, you can decide what kind of balloon. If you want a long balloon, if you want a round balloon, you can decide what you would like to use as your flying machine. Now, don't let just this little bit of material stop you. If there's something else you want to add to build your own flying machine, go and gather those materials. Okay. All right, so let's try this activity. What you'll need to do is take your string and tie it at one end. If you want an angle for your flying machine to travel through, tie one end higher, and then if you'll see at the other end, it's tied at a lower spot. Before you tie your last spot, put your straw in your string, and then we've added a piece of tape. Okay, now we're going to blow up our balloon. Okay, so now that you have your balloon blown up, we're going to tape it to your straw. Okay, and you're still holding on to the end of your balloon so you don't let any air out. Okay, then the force of the air coming out is going to push your balloon forward. So let's try our flying machine. Help me count down. 3, 2, 1. And there we have one type of flying machine. I can't wait for you to try it out. Thank you guys for joining us today. We hope that making your own flying machine will inspire you to want to do some sort of STEM career whenever you get older. If you have any other questions or want to find out any other information, please log on to our website at GYSTC.org. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back. I want to thank Astronaut Kate for reading us that amazing story, Rosie Revere Engineer. And I especially want to thank Captain Jack for all that he did to show us his collection of rockets and to teach us about rockets. Now, I know you may have already started building your flying machine, but let's take another brain break. Okay, so stop what you're doing, put things down on the table, and we're going to do some rocket yoga. Okay, so I need you to stand up straight and tall. And we're going to practice a chair pose. Okay, so that's where we're going to bend our knees and lift our arms up really, really high. Okay, in a chair pose. And then another pose that we're going to do is the star pose. All right, and that's where we're going to jump out like a star, and this is going to be our rocket ship. Okay? All right, so are you ready to do it with me? Let's stand up straight and tall. Rocket ship, ready to fly. Bend your knees and reach for the sky. Rocket ship, ready to go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! All right, you ready to do it? You want to do it one more time? All right, everybody stand up straight. Okay. Rocket ship, ready to fly. Bend your knees and reach for the sky. Rocket ship, ready to go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! All right, good job. Give yourselves a hand. Okay, all right, go on ahead and have a seat. But if you like to work standing up, go on ahead and stay standing because we're going to start building our flying machine. Do you like to build things? Do you like to invent things? You may be an engineer one day. So let's start building our flying machine, okay? So we need to think of our question. Our question is, how can we build a flying machine with the materials that we have that will fly the longest? Okay, so the materials that we have, that we're going to use string, we're going to use a straw, we're going to use a balloon, we may can use paper if we want it, we may can use a clothespin if we need it, and then we have some scissors and some tape. Okay, so now we need to start planning and thinking what kind of rocket or flying machine do we want to build. So let's think about what all Captain Jack shared with us, that a rocket would have 3 parts. It's got the nose cone, the body, the fins, that we know that there's an engine that makes the rocket go. What else did you think about that did you learn from Captain Jack? Yes, we need to include that in your plan as you're building. Okay, so what kind of machine do you want to build? Flying machine do you want to build? So let's do an experiment first. Okay, let's do an experiment with this balloon to figure out how we can use this balloon. All right, what would happen if we were to blow up this balloon and let it go? Let's try it. So you may need some help from your parents, so get someone to help you blow up your balloon. Okay, are you ready? Whew, let's do it again. All right, is it big enough for you? All right, so we have our balloon blown up. What would happen if I were to open my fingers and let this balloon go? Do you think the balloon would just float up into the ceiling? Do you think it would fall straight to the ground? Do you think it may shoot that way? And then why? What's going to happen? So let's try it and see. All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1. So what did it do? I'm glad it landed on the table. That's perfect. We can use it again. All right, so what happened is when I blew up this balloon, the air was pushing out of the balloon, and the force of that air going this way made our balloon go another way. All right, let's try it again. So this balloon is going to be our engine of our flying machine. All right, the air is going to come out this way, and it's going to cause our engine that's going to be attached to our flying machine or rocket to go another way. 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right, so let's get ready to build our flying machine. Now that we've done our experiment, we've done our research, so let's start building. Okay, if you have one balloon, run get your balloon and hurry back. We're going to build our zip line first. So the first thing you're going to do is take some string. Okay, you can use yarn or whatever it is that you have at home. Okay, and tape it to maybe a piece of furniture, a chair, a wall on one side of the room. Okay, we have taped it to this chair right here. All right, now take your string, okay, pull it out the distance that you want it to go, and tape your string on the other side of the room. But before you do, slide a straw through, slide your string through your straw. okay, so that your straw can move back and forth on your string, and then tape the other side down. Okay, do that, and then come back to your camera, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, so now that you have one zip line, let's test and build our rocket on our zip line. All right, so take your balloon, let's blow it up. Okay, I'm holding it closed with my fingers. Still may need a parent support for this. Now I'm going to tape it to my straw. My straw is my body of the rocket. My balloon is going to be my engine. Okay, and now we're ready for launch. All right, and we're going to count down, because that's the way we do it for safety, like Captain Jack said. And when we count down and get to 1, I'm going to move my fingers, let the air come out, which is going to have a force that's going to push this balloon forward in motion. Okay? T-minus 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Blast off. So there is your zip line and your balloon rocket. Now, let's do another test. What should we do if we wanted to try a different balloon? So let's try a round balloon. Okay, the round balloon we've already tested. That's going to be our control of our experiment. Let's try a long skinny balloon, and this long skinny balloon will be the variable of our experiment. And then we'll race the two. We'll put them both on a zip line. All right, so what I need you to do is to build another zip line. So go back and get your string, add some tape to your string and put it near the side of the wall where your other zip line is. Run your string out to the other end of your room, add a straw, okay, and then tape the side. And while you're doing that, I'm going to round my straw and my balloon up. All right, how's it going? Are you getting your second zip line ready? All right, let's get ready to do our test. This time I'm going to use the clothespins to close off my balloon. That way I can blow up 2, get them on the zip line, and then when it's time to launch them, I can hold both clothespins in my hands and let it go that way. Okay? So I'm going to blow up my first balloon, the round balloon that we've tried before. I'm going to add just a little twist here to help close it off, not too much. Okay. Now I'm going to tape it to the body of my rocket, to the top of the straw. And I have the air part coming out behind it, okay, where the air would come out. Next, I'm going to use a long skinny balloon, and we're going to test it to see which balloon will get to the finish line first. Okay, use my clothespin again. Am I giving you enough time to get your balloons blown up? All right. Now I'm going to add this balloon to this zip line, tape it to the body of our rocket. Make sure my zip line's good and tight. And then we are ready for launch. So before we launch, what do you think's going to happen? Which balloon do you think will make it to the finish line first? All right, ready for launch. T-minus 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. So what in the world happened? Which balloon made it to the finish line first? If you said that it was the small, long, skinny balloon, that's the one that made it to this finish line. Why do you think that happened? These balloons are more narrow and smaller, so they're able to push through the air better. So for this experiment, our long, skinny balloon made it to the finish line first. I challenge you to try this activity several different ways. Try it with small balloons. Try it with larger balloons. You may decide to change the string and may use fishing line. Maybe this yarn caused too much friction, okay? And friction may slow things down some. So your fishing line might work better. You may also try maybe a thicker rope and use a toilet paper roll as your body instead of a straw and attach that to your balloon. If you use a toilet paper roll, you can even make like a nose cone, okay, for the front of the rocket and bend your toilet paper roll a little bit more on the inside to make a nose cone, and that may cut through air a little better too. You can add fins to your balloons. You can do anything you would like to build your flying machine, okay? All right, so now that we have done our test, we've done our race, let's move on and do another activity, okay? The other activity is still going to use the same materials, all right, but we're going to build a balloon rocket that is not on a zip line. Okay, so this is what this balloon rocket is going to look like. I'm curious to see what yours is going to look like when you get done. All right, so I'm going to take a straw. Okay, I'm going to take a balloon, and I'm going to slide my balloon over my straw. Okay, and I'm going to kind of fold it a little bit, and I'm going to tape it really, really well so that air will not be able to get through our straw and our balloon. So tape it really well. Might need an extra hand, maybe if you have a brother or sister. Okay, and so tape it well. And what we're going to do is we're going to blow through our straw to blow up our balloon. Okay? All right, so that's the first part. Now, if you have paper, you may want to add fins to your balloon rocket. So take your scissors and cut 3 triangles. And an easy way to do that is if you'll take the corners of your paper and cut little bitty triangles as close to the same size as you can get them, and cut your triangles out, okay? Then on one edge of your triangle, you're going to fold it just a little bit so that you can tape it to your rocket, to your straw, okay? Now, while you are doing that, I want to tell you a little bit about the partnership between NASA and SpaceX. So I don't know if you were able to see the launch on Saturday, but NASA and SpaceX partnered together and they launched a rocket that had 2 astronauts in it, Astronaut Doug and Astronaut Bob, and they launched them to the International Space Station. And it was such a successful launch. This is the first launch that had astronauts in it from America since 2011. That's before some of you were even born. So that was a long time ago. So this is so exciting. And Astronaut Bob and Astronaut Doug will be at the International Space Station for a few months doing all types of experiments and research so they can learn a lot and bring it back to us when they come back home. Okay, so how So I hope you're able to see it, and hopefully you can keep up with what's going on. You can go to the NASA webpage and be able to get some webcam views of what the astronauts are doing. Okay, so what I did is I added one fin. You can add your other fin with some tape. Just keep adding. Okay, you're going to want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom of the straw so that your mouth will fit over it to blow your balloon up. Okay, I've got one more fin to fold. Let me tape it on. Okay, so now we have another type of balloon rocket. So now we've built, now we're ready to test. All right, so let's test out our rocket, or as soon as you get done, I want you to test it, but I want you to blow your balloon up, blow through the straw, and put your air into the balloon, but after you blow in, pinch your fingers on the end, this end of the straw. Okay, and that way the air won't flow back into your mouth as you're trying to get another breath to blow your next breath of air in. All right, so I'm going to test this one out. I'm pinching. Another puff of air and pinch. I'm going to do one more, get it a little bit larger. Okay, I've pinched off my air. And so what's going to happen is the force of the air is going to come out of the balloon, push out of the straw, and it's going to cause this rocket to go in motion. Our goal, if our fins are straight and just perfect, it's going to launch straight up in the air. Okay, but what's probably going to happen is when it launches, it's going to go flying all over the place because the balloon is moving. Okay, so let's test it out and see. All right, T-minus 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. That was a little push, but it went up in the air. So let's see, let's try this one. What could we do different? One thing that I did learn is our fins, if they're too big or if the tape is too heavy, it's going to weigh our balloon down, our rocket down, and it won't go up as high. So only use the materials that you think are most important. We can try this one with all the tape on it and see what it does. Remember, I'm blowing and squeezing after each breath. Okay, ready for launch. T-minus 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. See where that one was a little bit heavier, but it lifted up a little bit. So I challenge you to work on your balloon rocket, okay, and see what can you do to make your balloon rocket float up into the sky. You've seen 2 different kinds of rockets today. And so hopefully, just like Rosie did, she kept retesting, kept inventing, and hopefully you can do that too. After you've built your flying machines today, I hope that you're able to either take pictures of your flying machine, or better yet, take a video of you testing your flying machine and post it to our GYSTC Facebook page so that we can all see your wonderful work. But then tomorrow, you're going to get to experience even more kinds of rockets and more kinds of moving things with Dr. Tom. Join us again tomorrow for that. So thank you for joining us today for the Discover Georgia STEM Camp. I hope you've learned a little bit about force and motion, and I hope you enjoyed building your flying machine. And remember, just like Rosie Revere learned, I hope you keep inventing, building, and retesting from here on out. Thanks. Bye-bye.